Welcome back to True Story with John Gibson. Today's guest is the Giant Slayer, Amanda Leve. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Totally my pleasure. I hope you don't mind me using your new nickname.
No, I actually love the new nickname. I'm like, damn, I think I'm going to keep this.
I think you got to embrace it. You just have to. So at the time we record this, Amanda just had a really significant match. It was just so exciting. I'm usually pretty critical of Flow Grappling, but I have to say I'm so thankful and appreciative this was free and available, because I was like one of the however many that was able just to watch this in real time, and my jaw hit the floor. I'm going to let you kind of talk about it. But before I do that, I kind of want to lead into it really quick and say this, and just say, like, man, I totally became such a fan of yours at the press conference, to be honest with you. And I want to ask you about that, but I just want to share this one distinct thought with you, just to be totally candid and real. So I'm watching the press conference, and all of a sudden, you kind of confront Gabby, and I just had this one thought in my mind. I'm like a 190-pound grown man, wrestling background, BJJ, and I swear to God, Amanda, I thought to myself, I would never do that. I do not have the guts to do that. And I was like, who is this Amanda chick? Who is she? And I immediately started Googling you, and I watched it. I was like, I love her. I don't know how this is going to work out, but I love her. So with that, let me just start there. Can you maybe share a little bit about the Who's Number One experience, but maybe about the press conference?
Okay, so yeah, it's pretty cool that Flow just took the video right off of the Flow and put it on YouTube right away for everyone. But so it started with the press conference, and it was a great like experience. Who's Number One? They ran it so nicely. Like, everything was just so organized, on time. They made you feel like you were a professional, and the whole nine. So we get there, and it's like because there's 8 girls in that division. Seven of us are there, and Gabby's not there. And at first it didn't like dawn on me why she wasn't there. I was like talking to the other girls, and I'm like, really? That's so unprofessional for her, like, not to like be on time for this. And one girl was like, no, you're not going to catch her dead on a scale. And I'm like, oh, I'm like, that's why. I'm like, obviously she doesn't want us to know like the actual weight difference, like the actual number that she has on us, because it's such an advantage. So then I'm just like getting annoyed, just like sitting there, and I'm like, this is annoying, because I had a feeling I was going to get her first, because I looked at the odds, and I was seeded 8th, basically, out of the odds, and she was favored, obviously. But anyway, so I'm like telling my boyfriend and my coach, I'm like, I'm about to ask during the rules meeting, like raise my hand and be like, oh, does Gabby have to weigh in? And they're like, no, don't say anything yet. And then my boyfriend was like, say it at the press conference. And then what really made me do it was I was talking to my dad on the phone. He goes, say it at the press conference. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to say it at the press conference.
I love them both. Awesome.
I am not a controversial person. Like, I do not rock the boat ever. Like, ever. So this is so out of character for me that my sister saw like people posting it about me on about the press conference. Yeah. And she looked at my mom, Amanda like is like causing like some kind of controversy or something at the grappling tournament. My mom goes, my Amanda? And she's like, yeah. She's like, there's no way. Amanda it's not like that. So then we get to the table, and she shows up, and she walks in so arrogantly that it makes me more angry. And I'm like, oh man. So they like reveal the bracket in front of you. We're all at the long table, and it was no surprise for me when I saw her that I was going against her. And don't get me wrong, I really did want to go against her eventually. Yeah. So when I did ADCC in 2019, I was really disappointed. I lost my first match because I really wanted, my next match would have been Gabby. And I really wanted to go against her. Just because I've seen like Elizabeth Clay go against her, and I fought Elizabeth Clay, Anna Carolina, Kendall Rusing. Like, I saw all these girls go against her, and I'm like, damn, I wonder how I would do if these girls are doing pretty good with her. Yeah. And then they asked Gabby about what she feels about the match, whatever. And I think she said something along the lines of she doesn't really know who I am, or whatever. And she's excited, or what, I don't even know what she said. But right. So they asked me, and I'm like, oh, I'm really excited to fight Gabby. I'm like, I just want to know why she didn't have to weigh in. Yeah. And I wasn't being disrespectful. I just stating the fact, like, if I'm here weighing in, and you know my weight, I should get to know your weight too. So,
yeah.
And she comes back with, it's not in my contract, that whole 9. And I was
Right.
like, okay.
It was amazing. It was, I mean, and it was controversy, but not for controversy's sake. It wasn't Conor McGregor contrived, like it was a really legitimate point you had, like a really legitimate, and you were like, look, you were so brave and that you spoke up for the 6 other girls that had to weigh in too, that were sitting there, and
Even he jumped in.
well, and it just meant something. It's a little different when you had her in your bracket. You're going against her first. So for you to be the one to pull the mic and say it was like, wow.
Well, I think that's probably why the girls weren't as like active about it. Like where I had to go against her first. So I'm like, all right, well, if I'm going to go against you, I want to know your weight, because if I lose, I want to know that there's a legitimate reason why I lost, and not because you're a better skilled grappler. It's because you have 100 pounds on us.
Right.
So I always say that, like, jiu-jitsu is like for the smaller person to beat the bigger person, but if the bigger person knows jiu-jitsu, the bigger person should usually win. But again, I just don't think she's that very technically sound. I think she just kind of like bullies her way into winning a lot of the matches.
You proved it.
Yeah.
I mean, you proved it with your skill. I mean, and for those who haven't seen it yet, I encourage everybody to go stop what you're doing right now, hit pause, and go check out this match, because what you did was unfathomable. It hasn't been done before to Gabby, and everybody, all due respect to Gabby. Gabby Garcia has been a champion and everything for a very long time. And she's had a couple close calls lately, but nothing like this. And your match is, I've watched it more than 10 times, because it's like literally why I love jujitsu. It's made me fall in love with jujitsu a little more. I really mean that. The awesome. Way you took her back, because there's technical precision in that. And as somebody who practices jujitsu and is nowhere near your level, I at least know what I'm looking at enough to go, that's amazing. That's amazing. Can you talk about the match a little?
Oh yeah. So ironically, after I won, me and my boyfriend were like sitting there on the mat in silence, and he was like, I just can't believe everything we worked on just worked. And then Jay Regalbuto, who was commentating, but he was also cornering me, he comes out from, they were having like the break in between, and he comes out to see us. He goes, dude, everything worked. And we were like, I know, everything worked. So the night before the match, we went just to like go over some stuff at the gym. And every technique that we did, I swear, worked in the match. It was almost like we wrote it down and gave it to a director and said, here, we're going to act this out. Amazing. And everything played out exactly how we planned it. There was like nothing that like we didn't plan for. So then that morning when I woke up, I'm like, damn, what am I doing? It was more or less that I was nervous about the weight difference. It's not that I was afraid of her. I'm afraid of the weight difference, and you know, you can end up getting hurt. And I'm like, if I get hurt and my MMA career is done, right, like, I'll be really upset.
Right. Yeah.
So that's like another reason why I think there should be a cap off for the heavyweight division. Because you're not going to see little guys going against guys that big unless it's an absolute division. Like this is supposed to be the heavyweight division. Like put a middleweight division in or something.
That's why we have absolute. I agree.
Yeah. So then I was like getting ready for the match. We walk out on the mat. And I've just been practicing like my mindset recently. Like I've been training with like an actual like person, like it's almost like sports psychology, right? Like just being grateful to be out there, just being excited to compete instead of like thinking like, oh, I have to compete. It's more or less like, oh, I cannot wait to go out and compete and showcase my skills. So I just kept that mindset. I was having fun with it, and the match did go, and I like, it's all black. It went all black. Right. Yeah. So I rewatched the match, and I had no idea that certain things happened.
Wow.
I was, oh wow, really, that happened? I'm like, I do not remember that. But I remember like at one point she kept going for like leg sweeps, foot sweeps. And she was like caking me, and then I did like a hard collar tie on her, and she like stopped in the match and went like shook her finger at me.
Yeah, that's right.
And I looked at her, and you see me like stop and talk to her. I'm like, you kicked me, dude. Stop. Yeah. And then once I got the first back take and the first rear naked choke in, I was like always said, you know how like when you get a rear naked choke, right? Like your arm like sinks in. Like I just didn't even feel my arm sink in. So I didn't even know I had like a legit choke on her. In the match, her face is like purple, but I legit had no idea that it was even on because I just felt like I was squeezing nothing. Like I felt like I was trying to choke a tree out.
Yeah.
And then when I lost it, I didn't panic or anything.
No, you were very composed.
Yeah. I was actually like super like laser focused the whole match. Like I didn't really let my thoughts get ahead of me. And then when she was on top of me, I understand why girls break when they get underneath her because like it was terrible. Like the way she puts her shoulder in, she like suffocates you. Like, so you're like one, like you're just like caught underneath someone, and then two, you're getting like your airways blocked. So I'm like, damn, now I know why girls definitely break.
You get smashed. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then when I got her back on like the last time, and I looked up at the clock, I saw 8 seconds. That's when you start seeing me celebrate. Because like in my head, I just like knew I just put on like the best performance.
It was beautiful.
Plus the crowd was literally the best part. Like I don't think the crowd could have been any better. Anything that I did that was like in my favor, like I could have moved a centimeter in my favor. And I was like, wow! So
well, I'm so happy for you too. The cheering started pretty early. I honestly, I mean, I can only speak from my own perspective, but that first back take was so unexpected because it was precision. You flipped that leg up and it was amazing. And then was it your tripod sweeps?
Oh yeah. Yep.
You kept getting them. I mean, it was just like, and Gabby's big, you know, I was like, to me, I was like, this is technique. This is beautiful technique. I mean, and for me, that's why I fell in love with jujitsu is the little person could get the big person. And it wasn't until I started rewatching it over and over and really seeing some of the pictures that I really see the size difference. Like Gabby was so much bigger than you.
I know. She made me look like I was like 125 pounds and I walk around at like 155, 160. So that's just like, it's not like I'm like a tiny girl by any means. Like I'm not huge, but I'm not like tiny.
No.
You see the 115 girls, they're tiny.
Yes.
So that's why I think she was like 270 something. People were like 250. I'm like, dude, I don't think so. I'm like, I know someone that's 250 and like 6'2", and they are still not as big as Gabby looks.
Yeah. You just again, first off, great match. Awesome. You did really great. It was awesome, and like you know, I'm so glad you're getting all this recognition, and it's pretty amazing. I want to switch gears a little because you mentioned it, and I'm also curious to learn. But I want to talk a little bit about the PFL and your MMA career. But do you have like an equal passion for MMA, or is that your primary passion? Or I want to learn about that.
Jiu-jitsu has always been like such a primary focus because I've been competing since I was a kid, and then I was kind of just getting like I guess like burnout from it almost, like competing in it like just wasn't giving me the same like thrill as it used to. So that's when I wanted to start doing MMA. And then the problem was with MMA was I had my first amateur fight in 2017, but trying to get an amateur fight when I had a big jiu-jitsu background, like girls would like look me up and then see my jiu-jitsu background, they would just wouldn't fight me. So I had 2 amateur fights before I went pro in August, 2017 and 2019. And then my pro fight was just in August.
It was great.
Yeah, that was pretty cool too, right?
Yeah. Man, you're a scrapper, girl.
Thanks.
Yeah. Can we talk about that? The PFL fight? Yeah. That was awesome.
For sure. So I was actually winning on my feet that first round, like technically, like with like the punch count and landing and stuff like that. And then just one punch just caught me. Yep, caught me on the chin, and it didn't knock me out and per se, like I was still there fully aware. It was just my legs turned off. So having that feeling of your legs turned off is wild. I was craziest feeling I've ever felt. And then when she charged into me, was able to get the single leg and then take her down, take her back, and get the rear naked choke in.
You stay so composed. You got that takedown. How do you train for that? What is that?
I just think it's from competing for so long. So I started competing when I was 11. so nothing rocks my boat too much. Like even in real life situations, I don't get my I don't get all worked up. So I just think it's like years of competition and just being put in bad situations. Like I always tell everyone, when I was younger, my dad would put me in tournaments, but then he would sign me up for like my weight class and age group, and then he'd put me in the next weight bracket up, and then he'd put me in the next weight bracket and age group up, and then put me in the women's division when I was like 13. So I would do like 9-10 divisions in one day when most people do 2 divisions.
Yeah.
And I would just go from one match to the next match to the next match, like no break in between. And then one day I was just getting my like butt kicked by all these boys. And then my last match, they're like, "Oh, we have a girl for you. She's like 13. She's your age." I'm like ready to cry because I just got beat so bad.
Yeah.
And they look at my dad, the ref, and goes, "Are you going to make her do this one?" And my dad was like, "She can do whatever she wants," and then walked away. And I was like, I guess I'm doing this one.
Yeah.
And then I went out there and broke the girl's arm.
There you go.
So
yeah. Sometimes we learn through that adversity.
Yeah, exactly. Just so I think it's just like the experience of just competing.
Yeah. One thing I looked up after the press conference again, because I was like, who is Amanda? When I was listening to you, I go, she sounds like she's from Philly, because that's where I'm from. And I looked you up, I go, sure enough, I love it.
Everyone says that. Everyone's like, your Philly accent is so bad. I'm like, I guess.
No, it's perfect. Don't ever change. It's great. Is that where you started training in jiu-jitsu first in Philadelphia?
Yeah, in Jersey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like Jersey has a lot of jiu-jitsu schools. Not that PA doesn't, but I feel like Jersey has like a lot more. Okay. And so I do like half my training in Jersey still and half my training in Philly.
Oh.
And then do you know where King of Prussia is? Right outside of Philly.
Mm-hmm.
I train there too.
Oh, cool.
But
I'm from the Bucks County area.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm pretty familiar. So now, did you train? I could be wrong about this, but I'm not sure if I remember correctly. But was it with Ricardo Arona out of his gym? Almeida. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so I've been to 6 different schools since I started jiu-jitsu.
Gotcha.
So I started with Daddis fight camps. Then I went to Team Balance, Henry Gracie PA. And then they had a brown belt who went to open up his own school. It was called Paper Street Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And that's where I got all my back takes from.
Okay.
And then I went to Ricardo Almeida's, and now I'm at Precision.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I imagine like you've been so busy, since Who's Number One, which you so well deserve. I'm like so happy for you too. I want all this positivity to continue in your universe for sure. Do you know what's next? Do you think it's a fight, more BJJ?
So I was going to use that as my last big tournament for jiu-jitsu, but now Flow has me ranked as number 6, so I'm like,
I can't believe Gabby's not screaming for a rematch.
I know. Actually, I'm surprised I haven't heard anything from her.
It's crazy.
Yeah, like not even anything on social media, because even right after the press conference, she was like right on there. She was like leaving comments on different things. I just kind of ignored them. I'm like, whatever, dude, you're not worth my time. So, and I hate social media to begin with. So I'm not like big. So even when my social media blew up, like as grateful as I was for it, and it was just like way too much for me. Like I was getting so overwhelmed, but I loved it, but it was still so overwhelming. Like people don't realize. I'm like, I don't know how people do this full time at all.
Yeah, it can be very overwhelming. I understand, and it's and even though it's positive, it can be a job. It can take.
And then I want to reply to everybody because, like, I know it means a lot to them, and it means so much to me, and I want them to know it means so much to me. But I did get through all of them. I did.
Awesome. Awesome. That's the best you can do. That's the best you can do. But I really feel like you represented just so much. Like I think it wasn't like some fluke of a thing. Like it was really good, great jujitsu. And it takes like a special person to go and slay a giant, and you did it, in a way it like made history, it really did. It's just such a good thing. And you have, I mean, I'm one of the many, but like you got like a fan for life. Like I really can't wait. And I'm a huge MMA fan. So of course I'll watch all your fights. And I loved your previous fight. Like that already told such a cool story. Like your resilience is pretty amazing, you know. It's pretty great. Sorry. So yeah, to that end, so no fight announcement or any fights kind of on the radar in the near future?
No. So I'm working with like a deal with the PFL. I think for next year it's going to be.
Okay.
So which I think I have a little bit of an injury from Who's Number One anyway. So it'll be cool to just like be able to chill out for like a second.
Yeah.
I basically went from like a full fight camp for jiu-jitsu and then right to compete for Who's Number One. Which says a lot too, because I didn't even really train straight jiu-jitsu for like Who's Number One as much as I wanted to, and I'm actually pretty impressed with myself for not for not doing that, going out there and performing the way I did.
Wow. Well, props to your boyfriend and your coach kind of helping you game plan?
Oh yeah. So which my boyfriend did like a ton of research and was like, I think Gabby's gonna sit. I think she's gonna sit guard. And my coach Jerry was like, you think? And he's like, yeah, definitely. And then she ended up sitting.
She did,
it was pretty cool. The morning of the match, my dad texted me, shocked the world. And then I ended up shocking the world, the jiu-jitsu community at least.
Your dad is the man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Your dad is the man. And you did. You definitely did it. Awesome. Yeah, man. Well, with that, what are the best places to people to reach you if they did want to have seminars or just fan questions, anything like that?
My Instagram, _MMA is the best spot. That's where I'm getting and finishing all my messages, and it's all good. So you guys can all reach me there.
Awesome. Thank you so much again for finding the time. I know you're very busy, and again, this was my honor. This was totally like my pleasure. I appreciate this so much.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate, any kind of platform that I get to be on. So it means a lot.
You're welcome back anytime.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Amanda.
Have a good one.